Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to Gale FFTCG. I'm Serah, your host. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where I'm sitting. And today we're going to be talking about Reraise London and just some of the cool stories. I'm not going to give you a big rundown of all my matchups and what I could have done better and all that sort of stuff. I'll maybe do that here and there, but I wanted to talk for the most part about the stories and the games that stuck with me, not because of the game themselves, because the game is just, at least in my mind, is a reason that we gather together to play and to have fun, obviously. But for me, it's so important to remember that that the people across from you is really the reason why you're playing. And I think that's so important for our mentality, especially when we're talking about heroic and competitive. Even the most competitive players, I think, need to know how to have fun, and I am always trying to incorporate that and be the player that's trying to be really competitive but also have a laugh, and I think that's important. So I'm gonna start off by telling you a story way back from my first regional for Final Fantasy. I was in Shrewsbury, England, and it's kind of just in a game shop. It was an average Tuesday, and me and a team of 3 other guys literally just rolled up. We were in our car, and the Final Fantasy 15 had just been released, and my friend put on the Stand By Me, the Florence and the Machine version from that game, and we were all there's just the four dudes in there. Obviously this was a long time ago before my transition and all this crazy stuff, but we just sat in this car driving up, and it was great. But the main thing about that was I got top 8 in that event. It was a wild event. The game was still very new, so everything was quite solidified almost. Got to top 8, and I sit down across from my opponent. It's this really quiet gentleman, very well put together, very cool. You'll get where this is going. Alex Hancock is sitting across from me on his X-Death Mannequins shenanigans. That rhymes. And so we're sitting there, and it's just his deck is just terrifying. I'm on Ice Earth FF7. I was playing Vincent, which is really strong in the meta at that point, except when your opponent has 4 drops, and suddenly you're oh, my special can't kill anything. So I ended up losing, needless to say. And for me, that was oh wow, this guy's really good. But now every time I see Alex, I'm remember Shrewsbury and we played and you beat me? I swear I'm gonna get over that one day. But at least in my mind, at the time, I didn't realize who Alex was. And now looking back, I'm oh my gosh, this guy is just the greatest. He's so good at the game. But for me, that was my first experience of being with the big names, seeing what the game could be and what the top tier is. And so at the time, that was just super cool. And I was so excited and just so happy to be even just a part of that and to be even his opponent. But then years went by, played some other regionals and Common Crazy, became a part of the YYT for a little while. That was super important. I still technically am, but Gale didn't exist at the time. And so we as a community, we'd had a couple regionals. Obviously, used to playing in a room with Steve Dolman and Andrew Thompson and James Duff, just absolute titans of the game, as far as I was concerned anyway. Andrew Campbell, obviously, just lots of people that are well known in the community and well known in the game. Had the privilege of meeting Sasha Stark and a few other guys a couple of times, and then we went to the Cardiff Winter Cup, And that was really my first taste of a massive event. Shrewsbury was it was big for the time, but it wasn't all that big. And then Cardiff was like 100 plus people, and it was wild. I had so much fun playing against all sorts of players from all sorts of different skill levels, and most of those matches will never stick with me. But one of the matches that did, and one that showed me that the game wasn't just about the game, that the community was so much bigger than just the game, was I went 4-4 in that event, and the only game that I really remember that really sticks out to me during the day one events anyway, I didn't make top cut or anything, but the thing that I remember so vividly was sitting across from my opponent, and we were kind of at the end of our day. Like, my opponent had lost so many games, I'd lost so many games. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing well. My opponent was like, pardon me. My opponent was like, man, I've lost so many games. It wasn't great. And so we're sitting across from each other, and I won that game. I went on to win that game, but they were on this really cool Warrior of Darkness sort of list. I think I was playing like category 13, hasty weirdness. It was fun. But I remember them going, I think I'm just going to drop out of the tournament. I was like, man, that really sucks. So I gave them out some of my YYT promos, because if you've ever been in an event where the YYT is active, you're just like, yeah, you know we give out promos. You know that is a thing they do. If you don't have a promo, you could just ask, and they have hundreds of promos. So many promos, it's not even funny. But I gave them out the promo, and they actually had quite a few of them. They're like, oh yeah, I've been hoping for this one and that one, and I gave them, and I was like, here's some left, and I had a promo of Aerith flipping the bird, and they were like, I don't have this one, and they took it, and they were like, this is made my day. Thank you so much. And I don't know, I saw them around a little bit, but I haven't seen them since. Obviously, that was quite a few years ago now, but for me, that just stuck out. That was the highlight of my entire weekend, was this chance to give somebody something more than just a game, and to, make them feel better, especially when you're losing. That is the worst. That is the worst feeling in the world. But yeah, tying this all in, that was a big event. There were some big names in there. Tie this all into Reraise, and oh my goodness, 107, 108 players turned up for that event, and no one left. The Amaterasu promo by itself is like, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. We love it. We're here for that. But this was it was just so different. There was something different about the event. There was a hype, a buzz. And this was the first major event after like lockdown, proper major event. And so when everyone was there, they just showed up and showed out. It was fantastic. And I want to talk about one game in particular. There were a few games throughout the day that were really cool, but and even more on day 2. But day 1, I want to talk about one specific. It's actually the reason this video is getting made. So a friend, I'd kind of had rocky days all day. I'd won my first 2 matches, which is very important if you want to make top cut, is winning your first 2. You can afford to drop 2 at some point throughout the day, but having the first 2 means your strength of opponents goes in your favor or something like that, blah, 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 blah. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's important simply because at this point in the day, I was on my last match, and there was this hope that 5-3s could maybe make it. So I ended up going 4-4. I lost this last match, but it was against a guy who is actually a subscriber to this YouTube channel. Shout out to you. Who was playing Soirees, and I was on Icewind Storm, which admittedly I've like some of the London guys were talking to me, and they're like, man, that's such a good matchup for Soirees. Why didn't you win? And I was like, I didn't know it was a good matchup for Soirees. My list was a bit different. Now, maybe post that. Although, really, I wouldn't use that as a benchmark. It wasn't as good as I had hoped or initially thought. That being said, my opponent, I sat down across from my opponent, and they were like, "Are you from Gale FFTCG?" I was like, "Yes." Like, it was just the most surreal experience for me, being like, "Yeah, you run a YouTube channel." I was like, "Yes, I run a YouTube channel." Wait, what? You watch my YouTube channel? And they were just like, "Yeah, I love what you make, and I'm looking forward to a review of the Reraise event." And I was blown away. I was absolutely flabbergasted by somebody who watched my content and not only watched it but enjoyed it and took it to heart. And that for me is such a huge thing. Like, you have no idea how much that means to just creatives in general, but especially when it's something that you love. And so I lost that game quite badly, I might add, but it was fun. It was that thing of sitting across the table and going, this, like, win or lose, this match is gonna be awesome no matter what. And that is something I think that is so important about this game. Not only is it important for games and, life in general, but especially this game. This game is so much fun because of the stories, because of the community, because of who and what this game is about. You can have people who've never played a card game before. Michael McMillan of the YYT McMole Online, he's been on this channel before. He has never played a card game besides this one, and yet he loves it. He thinks this is the greatest card game, and a lot of it has to do with the community, people, and it's because it's Final Fantasy trading card game. Some people have never touched a trading card game in their life, but because it's Final Fantasy, people love the games. It's a beloved franchise. They all come together around these games, and so when a game is that influential, and when a TCG attracts people from all sorts of areas, not just I played Magic this one time and now that's it, but new players and players who've never touched these type of games, that's just such a big indicator to me. Talking about day 2, my goodness, day 2 was the most fun I've had playing FFTCG in a long time. And that's not to say that day 1 wasn't an absolute blast. It was so much fun. But the side events were fantastic. So James Duff and I played Highlander as the side event. Steve Dolman was also in that event, but he was on a different team. And we had so much fun. I was on Mono Wind. He was on like Earth, Fire, Sophie weirdness. If you don't know what Highlander is, you can only have one copy of every card deck. Super cool format, lots of fun. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, it's like the Commander format, but only 50 cards. So just really fun. And it's kind of my bread and butter. I started playing card games, or at least card games of this variety, with Commander. So this is kind of like my jam. I know I love Highlander as a format. It's so much fun. So we did the Highlander event, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. But there was a point in the day where we'd played our opponents, and if you there's a friend of Michael's named Tush. If you know Tush, lovely guy, but I was like, I'd heard a lot about Tush, but didn't realize who Tush was until day 2. And we went up against them, and it was like, I was like, oh man, so great. And we played our game, and I won mine. And then, oh no, did I lose? No, I think I lost. I'd like to say that I won, but Tush is a very good player, so I just kind of got hammered. And then it was fun. And then later, like, we were like, yeah, shook hands, all that. And later, was like, wait a minute. Somebody had said the name Tush and then pointed, and I went, wait, is that my opponent? And I like ran over, and so I was like, can you sign my lock? Because I had went up against Tush the day before in my actual rounds, and also on Icewind Storm, Tush easily outplayed me. And I was like, not worthy. But like Tush was so nice about it, and then I beat him in friendly, so that was fun. But just to wrap this up, because this video is getting a bit long, just to sum up, this is why I love this game. Those moments where you can run up to somebody and go, can you sign my card? Because I know you from a friend of a friend, or you must be Gale. And like, these things are so massive to me. They mean the world. This is why I'm going to stick with this game until it either dies out or till, the world ends. Like, the community here is incredible. It's so vast, and every time I go to events, I meet new people. I get to reunite with old friends. I was in an Airbnb with Sasha Stark, my buddy Andrew Thompson, and a guy named Martin, who I hadn't met, but it was just so lovely because all of them went to Top Cut. I didn't, but they all did. And just getting to literally stay in a house for a couple days with a bunch of legends, like, it was just amazing. And I am so grateful for that and to have those experiences because of this game. That is the most important takeaway from Reraise, was coming away from that weekend going, wow. Also, kind of lit a fire because it's like, wow, this room is really good and this room is really stacked. I'm not even ashamed of a 4-4. Like, with how good that room was, totally happy with a 4-4. And I think that's the main takeaway, was it win or lose that weekend was fun. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but for me, win or lose that weekend was amazing. In London, it could not have been any cooler, honestly. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to me kind of just rant about how much I love this game. Obviously, I do that on this channel anyway, but sometimes it's good to talk about our experiences on why we love what we love. And I think it's more interesting to love something than just to be a naysayer about it and just be like, I didn't get top cut, so that game was bad. I think it's important to remember the fun times and the laughs that you have and all the pub games after and all the things you can talk about. I think that's important. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day and a great rest of your week.